Hey, hey, hey. What up, fam? It's Tuesdays with Tawana. What's going on? I am your host and your curator, Tawana, here in the building to build community one broadcast at a time. Hey, mother. How are you? Always good to see you. Always good to feel your presence in this place. I am still learning this whole Facebook Live and broadcasting from my personal page or from my Tuesdays with Tawana page and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, quite interesting. What's up, Cordio in the building? So y'all know how this works, we have a dialogue. You just chop it up in the chat box and I'll engage and talk. There are others that might just sit and chill and just listen and take it all in. And then there are others that, might listen to it later and, you know, kind of let it all sink in. What's up, Christina in the building? Good to see you, my beloved. Yes, good to see you. So yeah, so let's get started. I'm just going to try to share onto my Tuesdays with Tawana page and see how that works. I'm still experimenting, y'all, so y'all bear with me. Yeah, bear with me. So, good afternoon, Robert Bobby Young Sr. Oh my goodness, Happy New Year. So good to see you. So good to see you. Yeah, so we are here, 2021, Tuesdays with Tawana, season 2, episode 2. So excited, so excited. Got on my Black Lives Matter shirt today to remind us to affirm us in this moment that Black Lives Matter despite what's going on in the world. All lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter because we are divine, we are beautiful, we have made it through 400 plus years of degradation, of mistreatment, of marginalization, all of that stuff that tried to kill us, and we are still here. So won't you come celebrate with me? For every day something has tried to kill me and has failed. Hey, brother Larry, good to see you. Thanks for joining. So yeah, so I thought I'd wear my Black Lives Matter shirt today because we have been going through a lot over the last couple of weeks in this country, in our communities, whether it's COVID, whether it's domestic terrorism, whether it's what they call a stimulus, and I just call it money to live and to survive, because many people out here do not have the opportunity to work from home, do not have the opportunity to work, period, if their jobs were dependent upon physical customers and community. So with that, we've been going through a lot. So I hope that this moment we can gather together and support one another and share in our thoughts and our feelings and understanding that we are here to center Black lives and Black experiences, because that doesn't happen often enough. So let's talk about that for a moment. So oftentimes I center Black lives, Black experiences, and Black women. That does not mean that I demean, degrade, or demoralize any other group. What it does is it exemplifies how to love yourself, to show up fully, authentically, and unapologetically, and lead by example for your other beloveds, Brown, Indigenous, First Nation beloveds, people of color, to come in and to embrace themselves in a world and in a space that hasn't necessarily loved on us, right? Hey Dale, good to see you. They haven't necessarily loved on us, and we've been going through this for years and years and years. So when I say I'm centering Black lives and Black experiences, it is so that we can build a path and a way to love on ourselves, because the world, they're not loving us the way we should be loved. They're not treating us the way we should be treated. How do I know? Well, Let's ask Breonna Taylor. Oh, I'm sorry. She was murdered due to a no knock warrant. So let's ask Sandra Bland. Oh, I'm sorry. She was killed for a broken tail light, and because she exercised her First Amendment of freedom of speech and spoke out and ended up being killed as a result. So these are things that we have to live with every day, and yet we come together to try to no, not try, we come together to offset those forces, to be antithetical to those forces, and to build greatness through who we are as a divine beings that we are. And how do I know that we're divine? Well, I can look at my own situation, and I look at um, my scars. We talk about scars, right? So I look at my scar under my tattoo. It reminds me that I'm here and I'm living. This is where my port is, that gives me the healing juices that I need to fight this cancer that I'm fighting. Or the scars that are under these prosthetic breasts that reminds me that I am still here. Or scars of thoughts. It may not even be physical scars, but it might even be thoughts of my mother dying to multiple myeloma in 1993. And yet that was her way, that was God's way, that was their way to find her healing. Hey, Mama Lovey, always good to see you. I love you and miss you so much. So that was her way of finding her healing. Or my dad, who had a massive stroke in 2009, or those who are dying due to COVID, when none of us, it should not have even come to this if the government, those that are paid to work for the people, none of this would have happened if we had done what we were supposed to, or they would have done what they were supposed to do. Hey, Julie, always good to see you, my friend. So those who have died and dealing with death in a different way, because from my experience being a Black woman, when we have funerals, we have funerals most of the time. That's the time for family to get together. That's time for us to eat. That's time for us to share memories. It's time for some preaching to happen, some singing to happen, tears, laughter, all of that. And here we are in the midst of COVID, and none of that can happen because we got to stay 6 feet apart and can't have more than 10 people in a space. And all of those are levels of trauma, right? Layers of trauma that we have to deal with. And how do we push through these things when we are expecting rational things from irrational behavior? Miss Penny in the building. Oh my gosh, I love you. You and Brother Al. Happy belated anniversary to you. I love y'all to the moon and beyond. Thank you for joining. What's up, Shirley? Always good to see you. Thank you for joining. So I say all that to bring us to this expecting rational things from irrational behavior, or sane things from insanity, or the list goes on and on, right? So what happened at the Capitol was absolutely insane. And it pierces my soul, because all I can think about is, not only did the domestic terrorists incite, or our soon to be former president incite a riot, all I could think about was, if that were us, and the carnage that would have resulted from what happened. So our beautiful, beloved leader, Tamika Mallory, said, y'all stand down, Black and brown and people of color, indigenous folk, beloveds, stand down. This is not our fight. Because had we gone there to try to go against those forces, we would have been the one arrested. We would have been the one blamed for inciting a riot. We would have been the ones going to jail. We would have been the ones who would have ended up murdered by the few police that were there. The National Guard would have shown up, but not to protect and serve us. We've seen it time and time again. I can only tell you what I know. I can only tell you what I see. I can only tell you what I experience. So when we talk about centering Black lives and Black Lives Matter and how divine we are and how we should show up unapologetically and authentically, is because it is not being honored and revered in society as it should or could be. Because we're human beings, we breathe the same breath. We've had to go through some very trying times individually and collectively. But yet we do so in community. The moment that we isolate ourselves and start pointing the finger and saying, well, it's all about me. I'm going to step over you to get where I need to be. You only live once. You got to go for yourself. That is not our mindset. That is not what we were taught. That is not how we overall were raised. Now, we may have been raised that way individually in our homes and in our communities because that was life around us. It's kind of like brainwashing. You convince somebody that they're not worth it. At some point in time, they're going to believe that they are not worth it. If all they're surrounded with is unworthiness, right? But then it just takes one person to plant that seed of hope, to plant that seed saying that I see you, to plant that seed to say that I love you, to plant that seed to say that I am not here to judge you, to plant that seed to say I understand what you are going through, to plant that seed to say I may not understand what you're going through, but I'm going to journey with you, to plant that seed in community so that we can be better. We can insert ourselves into a narrative that has put us in this proverbial invisible institution. We are about to celebrate Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King weekend. Don't forget to celebrate the women that wrote the speeches, the women that planned the bus boycott, the women that set up everything for hotel stays and security and the list goes on. Let us not forget to name the women that were behind Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King that made it happen. Let us not become this patriarchal, misogynoir, hateful society that we are just not naturally built to be. It's antithetical to who we are. Hey, Tony, I'm glad you made it, honey. So glad you made it. But it's antithetical to who we are. It doesn't mean that we don't go through problems. It don't mean that we don't have beef with one another, but we're going to get through it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have a dialogue. We're going to exchange. Remember a while ago, we talked about this epistemological curiosity. Like, I want to be really curious about you. Like, how do you get through breast cancer and still have joy? How do you still love God when your mother died when you were 23? How do you still love God when you were in a domestic violence relationship? How do you still love God when you spent New Year's Eve on the beach and praying with your family and you were with water and you were on God's ground and you felt the raindrops and all of those blessings happening, and then the next day your car breaks down on the way home on a 4-hour drive? And you still love God. How do we do that? Christina says, thank you. Hold on. I want to put you on the screen, Christina. I don't know why it's not going on the screen. I'll come back to that. But how do we do that? How do we still love God and still love one another when shit happens? How do we make that happen and really understand in the depths of our souls that Black lives matter? Period. Full stop. When do we stop trying to rationalize what folk are doing in an irrational space and place? What those people did at the Capitol was unacceptable. It was heinous. It was terroristic. Let me tell you how I know it was domestic terrorism. My ex-husband was arrested for domestic terrorism when he would call me 200 times a day and send me 300 text messages and spent a year in jail. You gonna tell me that none of those clowns should go to jail for what they did? For breaking and destroying government property, our property, and claiming it's theirs because they have some sort of white privilege and white supremacy? Are you kidding me? So what do? Hey, Brother Jeff. Ew, so good to see you. Yes, be here for all of this. All of this. I love you dearly, Brother Jeff. So Christina says, thank you, Mother, for directing him and saying, okay, I can't read. My getting used to my glasses. So, and I can't put her up on the screen. So again, I'm learning. I'm learning. Y'all love me anyway, okay? Just love me through this moment of struggling. So anyway, so how do we get to that point, right? Of loving God and loving one another and loving one another unconditionally when we have these antithetical forces that are constantly trying to degrade us and demean us because they decided to have a temper tantrum because Trump lost. White people don't want to lose their power by any means necessary. This is why when we said Black Lives Matter, they said all lives matter because they don't want to lose their power. When we said Black Lives Matter, they said, oh, this is about the flag and you're disrespecting the flag, so I disagree. When we said Black Lives Matter, they said, oh, it's about the veterans, it's about the police, Blue Lives Matter. And then what did they do? They disrespected every single fight and every single point that they made while they were invading the Capitol. Everything. So where's the Blue Lives Matter? Y'all chased a black cop up the steps, and by the grace of God, he had the wherewithal to still protect this place that has never protected us. Because he knew, as he was facing them, he knew that the people were to the left, so he went to the right, knowing that the fools were going to follow him, expecting rational behavior from irrational people. So what do, beloveds? How do we, it's not for us to fix, first of all, because we didn't cause this problem. I am challenged when people talk about reverse racism. And I struggle with saying that we don't have the power because I dare not say I don't have power. The type of power that I have is just the type of power that I hope that does not demean, degrade, marginalize, oppress another person, group, culture, race. Right? I know I do have power because I'm divine. So are you. Not just talking about me and self-aggrandizement, right? I'm talking about us as the Black diaspora being divine. But what do? One is not expecting anything great to come out of this from the insurgents, right? We as spiritual people, as believers in a higher power, believers in God, believers in community, wherever you are in your world, believing that something good can come out of this, but it's not going to be contingent upon somebody else who is full of hate and disregard for another human being. When we talk about an inalienable right to live, that is included in folk not running up into the Capitol and endangering people's lives. And people died. People died because of their foolish behavior. And now they're having temper tantrums because now they're on the no-fly list, or they were actually arrested because they really thought that what they were doing was right because it's irrational behavior, irrational thought, that power that brings evil and hate to the world, hate of another. because they feel like if they love somebody else, or they bring somebody else up, or they journey with somebody else, they're going to lose this false sense of power. It is false. It is false. So we must honor ourselves and walk through this world unapologetically. Now it sounds easy, right? Yeah, just, be you. Do you. But it's quite scary. I was in treatment last Wednesday when the domestic terrorists showed their ass, and I was in treatment late and it was getting dark, and I was like, okay, I need to get home. I don't want to, although I'm only 20 minutes from the hospital, I needed to get home because I'm a Black woman by myself, and I didn't want to put myself at risk. I didn't want to be snatched up on the street. I didn't want somebody to follow me. I didn't want someone to put me in danger. Christina said completely false, or as I like to say, lies and fallacies. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I needed to get home. And those are things that we have to live with, the reality. If I'm driving down the street and a police car comes up behind me, I'm like, damn, I know my tags are good. I know I got insurance. I know my car is fixed. I don't have a broken tag. All that stuff is going through my mind. So what do? We begin to understand, first and foremost, that we matter. My life matters, your life matters, Black lives matter, our Black, Indigenous, people of color matter. And let's put a pin right there. Now, understand, beloved, oftentimes I talk about my space being a Black woman because that's what I know. I dare not speak for other groups, but what I will do is invite other groups into the conversation and invite other groups to take the lead to insert themselves into a narrative, because other groups have their own stuff to deal with. We still deal with colorism. We still deal with classism. Am I Black enough? Am I not Black enough? Am I pretty enough? Should I have locks? Should I have straight hair? Is it European to do that? Blah, blah, blah. Should I be skinny? Should I compare myself to the American form of beauty? Or should I just embrace who I am? So we go through all of these challenges. And because I wear a hoodie, does that mean I'm a drug dealer? Because I live in an impoverished community, it doesn't mean that I don't have values or morals. I mean, we go through all of that because people make assumptions about us. And it happens in other communities as well. We have Latino and Latina communities where some people identify as white. We have some that don't want to identify as Afro nothing. Or they go against those who are of darker hue and they're from the same community. So I focus on what I know and what I experience, right, as a Black woman. But I do so, and I do so because it sets the example for others to then speak up and speak out and unapologetically state who they be and how they show up in the world. And be mindful, beloved, how we show up in the world is contingent on how we treat others, how we honor others. And sometimes I have to honor you from a distance because I can't rock with you, domestic terrorists. Can't rock with you on that level. But what I can do over here is make sure that we are fully represented in leadership positions, whether it's at the board table, whether it's entrepreneurs, whether it's the vice president, whether it's the Senate, the House, the whole, whoever. And making sure, like I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they said that they actually did not realize how important it was until the Georgia runoff that those two seats be taken by Senate and by Democrats so that the Senate can be blue. All of these years. We take stuff for granted. We need to have more conversations about it because it's not being taught in our schools. We have a county out here on the East Coast that is one of the wealthiest counties and has one of the poorest school systems. Why is that? And what are the people in that community saying? So we've got to know better in order to do better. We got to know better and know who we are and bring that to the table unapologetically. Bring that to the table powerfully. Bring that to the table authentically. Bring that to the table without any fear and trembling. We got to bring that to the table knowing that we know that we know that we know that we are divine, we are brilliant, we are co-creators, we are amazing, and we could change this. And the change started, now don't get it twisted, the change started way back when. From the suffragist movement when it was only just women, and then we had to insert ourselves into a narrative when people like Zora Neale Hurston and Ida B. Wells were getting PhDs when some people couldn't even be educated. And then it continued through the Black Panther movement when you had Bayard Rustin as a gay Black man, or you had Angela Davis as a Black woman leading in this fight. Or even to take it to the civil rights movement where there were so many women that were involved, but yet they were pushed to the side and marginalized because patriarchy said that a man had to lead. And then we come to this space. So now we're building, we're having this Sankofa moment, building and taking all of the pieces that were good for us, that will nurture us now, so that we can move forward and change this America that we live in today. We can save ourselves. We can save our beloveds. We can save our Black lives. We can save our Black, Indigenous, people of color lives. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this. Christina said it's been a process of change and it's still moving. So change is this process, right? When you put a seed in the ground, it doesn't just automatically become a tree or a plant or whatever. You know, first, before you even plant the seed, you got to till the ground. Our ancestors have tilled the ground. And now we are planting seeds to grow. And we got to water them and talk to them and make sure that they're in the right conditions in order to flourish. It's like our young people. We got to make sure that they're in spaces and places that they can flourish. So if the education system sucks, we got to do something about it. And we can do something about it if we come together. There's strength in numbers. It sounds cliche-ish, but there's strength in numbers. So going back to expecting the rational from the irrational, we need to act and behave as the rational beings that we know we are collectively. None of us are perfect. We do have some irrational folk in our space, right? Our people. Our people. So, but it's more of us. I'm sure. I feel it. I know that there's more of us that have the courage and the audacity and the strength and the divine prowess to make a change and not expect rational behavior from irrational people. We got to know who we are and how we show up in this world collectively. Like, I wish the Kwanzaa principles would just live in our world every day, about self-determination and collective responsibility and purpose. I mean, it's an everyday mantra. It's an everyday rules of life, right? I wish we would and could lead in that manner, moving forward and honoring those who, even if they're different in, whether it's class, whether it's education, we still have an opportunity to honor another human being. Because that's who we are. That's what we do. We dance together. We sing together. We cry together. We lament together. We experience joy together. We lift as we climb. We share in responsibilities. We share our resources. We come together to make things happen. So, beloved, I hope that we understand what is our fight. Our fight is to get us together and to build together. Invest in property, invest in businesses, help build communities that are affordable. We come together as the rational group and not expect irrational groups to do anything for us. The fact that they're still calling this piece of change a stimulus is beyond me. Stimulate me to eat? Stimulate me to pay my rent? Because I don't have a job? Yes, Tanisha, Kwanzaa principles every day. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go. Christina said, if the irrational actually acted rational for once, it would be a miracle. We like to believe that people to be better than they are, but as Mother Maya said, when people show you who they are, believe them. Let's stop acting as if we don't know who these people are with their self-centered, narcissistic, patriarchal, misogynoir selves. Please, beloveds, know that you are beautiful and you are brilliant, and we can build community together in order to change the status quo, to begin to change constitutions and things that demeaned us, called us 3/5 of a person, called our indigenous beloveds savages. All of that needs to change. We need to get our babies out of cages. We need to stop separating our folk. If this is the land of the free and the home of the brave, and give me your poor and your tired and all that, then what are we doing? Our silence at times, it makes us complicit. Then on the other side of that, our silence in that arena doesn't make us complicit, because we're speaking and moving and shaking in silence in our own, with intention in our own communities. And then it's like, surprise, I'm the president, and I'm the VP, and I'm the Secretary of State, and so, beloved, I thank you for rocking with me today. I thank you. I love these days. I love Tuesdays. Tuesdays gives me life. It just brings me so much joy. Many of you know that I am writing and editing my dissertation proposal that needs to be finished by the end of this month. So, but this is a nice welcomed break for me. A nice welcomed break. Just one other thing I want to talk about. Shout out to organizations like the Stomp Out Breast Cancer Foundation, Soul to Soul Sisters, Carrie's Touch. I went to the pharmacy the other day to get my blood thinners, $472, because I have to meet my deductible. I'm going to leave that right there, because those organizations are the organizations that help people like me with out-of-pocket expenses that if I could not afford, which I can't afford, if I didn't have resources to help me get my medicine, then I would be forced to take another medicine that almost ended very tragically. So let us keep in prayer those who are struggling with health insurance, struggling with diagnosis, praying for those who have died due to COVID and other diseases, praying for those families who have lost loved ones, praying for those families who are in the struggle. Let us hold space and send love and light. If you can send something, if you see a post that someone asked for prayer, comment, send them an inbox. Just show them some love. That will go a long, long way. Yeah, big pharma pisses me off as well, Tony. It's unbelievable. Yes, Christina, praising God for resources. Yes, and self-care Saturday. Go on to Soul Sisters page. On once a month, we have self-care, self-love Saturday for Black women. And it is absolutely amazing. We've turned this virtual journey into an amazingly divine moment to show love to Black women. Hey, Valerie, so good to see you. Peace and blessings. And with that, I am going to sign off. I love y'all to the moon and beyond. I just love that you spend time with me this half an hour every Tuesday. Tuesdays with Tawana, Tuesdays, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Share this video. People can watch it later on, or they can catch it on any of the podcasts platforms from Spotify to Apple to Anchor. So I am so grateful for this opportunity to build community with you. I'm out. Peace.